Good morning, y'all. Back with another live. I was thinking maybe if I get on a little earlier, I'll possibly catch people going to work or maybe you in your car or just, maybe somehow on Facebook early in the morning, you just open your eyes. So why not hear the word of God as soon as you wake up? Okay, so Genesis 46, we'll be reading Genesis 46 and Genesis 47. So I just get straight into it. God assures Israel. So Israel began his trip to Egypt. First, he went to Beersheba. There he worshiped God, the God of his father Isaac. He offered sacrifices. During the night, God spoke to Israel in a dream and said, Jacob, Jacob. Israel answered, Here I am. Then God said, I am God, the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go to Egypt. In Egypt, I will make you a great nation. I will go to Egypt with you, and I will bring you out of Egypt again. You will die there, but Joseph will be with you. His own hands will close your eyes when you die. Israel goes to Egypt. Then Jacob left Beersheba and traveled to Egypt. His sons, the son of Israel, brought their father, their wives, and all their children to Egypt. They traveled in wagons the Pharaoh had sent. They also had their cattle and everything they owned in the land of Canaan. So Israel went to Egypt with all his children and his family. With him were his sons and his grandsons, his daughters and his granddaughters. All of his family went with him, the family of Jacob, or Israel. These are the names of Israel's sons and family who went to Egypt with him. All right, so we got no more names, y'all. Bear with me. Reuben was Jacob's first son. Reuben's sons were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's sons were Jamil, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, and Zoar. There was also Shaul. Shaul was born from a Canaanite woman. Levi's sons were Gershon, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Judah's sons were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. Perez's sons were Hezron and Hamuel. Issachar's sons were Tola, Pua, Job, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons were Sered, Elon, and Jalalel. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun were Jacob's sons from his wife Leah. Leah had these sons in Paddan Aram. She also had a daughter named Dinah. There were 33 people in this family. Gad's sons were Zephon, Hagi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Aradi, and Areli. Asher's sons were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and their sister Sarah. Also there was Beriah's sons, Heber and Malchiel. All these were Jacob's sons from his wife's servant Zipporah. There were 16 people in this family. Benjamin was also with Jacob. Benjamin was Jacob and Rachel's son. Joseph was also Rachel's son, but he was already in Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph's wife was Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, the priest of the city of On. Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These were the sons of Jacob from his wife Rachel. There were 14 people in his family. Dan's sons was Hushim. Naphtali's sons were Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shileam. These were the sons of Jacob and Bilhah. There were 7 people in his family. The total number of Jacob's direct descendants who went with him to Egypt was 66 people. The wives of Jacob's sons were not counted in this number. Also, Joseph had two sons in Egypt. With these two grandsons, Jacob's family in Egypt numbered 70 people in all. Israel arrives in Egypt. Jacob sent Judah ahead to speak to Joseph. Judah went to Joseph in the land of Goshen. Then Jacob and his people followed into the land. Joseph learned that his father was coming, so he prepared his chariot and went out to meet his father in Israel in Goshen. When Joseph saw his father, he hugged his neck and cried for a long time. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Now can I die in peace? I seen your face, and I know you are still alive." Joseph said to his brothers and to the rest of his father's family, "I will go and tell Pharaoh that you are here. I will say to I will say to Pharaoh, my brothers and the rest of my father's family have left the land of Canaan and have come here to me. They are a family of shepherds. They have always kept sheep and cattle. They have brought all their animals and everything they own with them. When Pharaoh calls you, he will ask, 'What work do you do?' You tell him, 'We are shepherds. All our lives we have been shepherds, and our ancestors were shepherds before us.' Then Pharaoh will allow you to live in the land of Goshen. Egyptians don't like shepherds, so it's better that you stay in Goshen." Genesis 47. Israel settles in Goshen. Joseph went in to Pharaoh and said, "My father and my brothers are all there, and all their families are here. They have all their animals and everything they own from the land of Canaan with them. They are now in the land of Goshen." Joseph chose 5 of his brothers to be with him before the Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to his brothers, "What work do you do?" The brothers said to Pharaoh, "Sir, we are shepherds, just as our ancestors were shepherds before us." They said to Pharaoh, "The famine is very bad in Canaan. There are no fields left with grass for our animals, so we have to come to live in this land. We ask you, we ask you to please let us live in Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. You can choose any place in Egypt for them to live. Give your father and your brothers the best land. Let them live in the land of Goshen. And if they are skilled shepherds, they can also care for my cattle." Then Joseph called for his father Jacob to come meet him, to come in to meet Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to him, "How old are you?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "I have had a short life with many troubles. I am only 130 years old. My father and his ancestors lived to be much older than I am." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and left from his meeting with him. Joseph did what Pharaoh said and gave his father and brothers land in Egypt. It was the best land in Egypt, in the eastern part of the country around Ramses. Joseph also gave his father, his brothers, and all their people the food they needed. Joseph buys land for Pharaoh. The famine got worse. There was no food anywhere in the land. Egypt and Canaan became very poor because of this bad time. People in the land bought more and more grain. Joseph saved the money and brought it to Pharaoh's house. After some time, the people in Egypt and Canaan had no money left. They had spent all their money to buy grain. So the people of Egypt went to Joseph and said, "Please give us food. Our money is gone. If we don't eat, we will die while you are watching." But Joseph answered, "Give me your cattle, and I will give you food." So the people used their cattle and horses and all their other animals to buy food. And that year, Joseph gave them food and took their animals. But the next year, the people had no animals and nothing to buy food with. So they went to Joseph and said, "You know we have no money left, and all our animals belong to you. So we have nothing left, only what you see, our bodies and our land. Surely we will die while you are watching. But if you give us food, we will give Pharaoh our land, and we will be his slaves. Give us seed so that we can plant. Then we will live and not die, and the land will grow food for us again." So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. All the people in Egypt sold Joseph their fields. They did this because they were very hungry. And everywhere in Egypt, all the people became Pharaoh's slaves. The only land Joseph didn't buy was the land that the priests owned. The priests didn't need to sell their land because Pharaoh paid them for their work. So they used this money to buy food to eat. Joseph said to the people, "Now I've bought you and your land for Pharaoh. So I will give you seed, and you can plant your fields. At harvest time, you must give 1/5 of your crops to Pharaoh. You can keep 4/5 for yourselves. You can use the seed you keep for food and planting the next year. Now you can feed your families and your children. The people said, "You have saved our lives. We are happy to be slaves to Pharaoh." So Joseph made a law at that time in the land, and that law continues today. The law says that 1/5 of everything from the land belongs to the Pharaoh, who owns all the land. Sorry, y'all. Let me do not understand. The only land he does not own is the land of the priests. Don't bury me in Egypt. Israel stayed in Egypt. He lived in the land of Goshen. His family grew and became very large. They became landowners there and did very well. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, so he was 147 years old. The time came when Israel knew he would die soon, or soon die. So he called his son Joseph to him. He said, "If you love me, put your hand under my leg and make a promise. Promise that you will do what I say and that you will be truthful with me. When I die, don't bury me in Egypt. Bury me in the place where my ancestors are buried. Carry me out of Egypt and bury me in our family grave." Joseph answered, "I promise that I will do what you say." Then Jacob said, "Make a vow to me." And Joseph vowed to him that he would do this. Then Israel laid his head back down on the bed. And that's Genesis 47. Amen. Okay. So in these chapters, we see that Jacob agrees. Jacob, I said Jacob. Uh, yeah. So Jacob agrees to go to Egypt, and he took all his family with him. In the first chapter, we see like all of the family's names and the sons and their wives and their daughters. And so Jacob takes all of them with him. They meet Joseph. Joseph tells them that uh, he's gonna he preps them and tells them that he's gonna tell Pharaoh that they're shepherds and that they need to live in the land of Goshen. Um, and so Pharaoh grants their wish. Jacob or Israel, because God changed his name to Israel. Uh, Israel met Pharaoh and he blessed him, and Pharaoh granted Joseph and his family like the best land in Egypt in Goshen, and he allowed them to raise their cattle, and he even gave them his own cattle to take care of. Um, and so the famine got worse. The people had needed still needed like they gave away all their money to Joseph to get food, so they had to give away cattle and animals. And then once that was gone, they didn't have anything to give other than land, so they gave away all their land. So all the land ended up being owned by Pharaoh, in which um, only the priest's land wasn't owned by Pharaoh, and that was because he paid them, and so they was able to buy food. So all the people became slaves for Pharaoh um, during this time because they needed to buy food, buy grain. So now we still see them here going through the famine. And so Joseph ended up giving them grain, giving them seeds to be able to plant in their fields, and they could use that seed for planting and for food as well. So yeah, so that's Genesis 46 and 47. See y'all again in the next video. Peace.